Welcome. My name is Christopher Scott, and you're joining me for another of my Basics of the Bible video series. Down there in the description, there is a link to the playlist of 75 different videos that start in Genesis and end in Revelation, talking about the basics of the Bible. So that link is there for you. If you're new to these videos, thanks for joining us. It's all free information. Would love to have you watch and learn more of the basics of the Bible. Today we are looking at First Chronicles. First Chronicles is the book that we're looking at. And just to do a little background here, so Genesis through Second Kings is mostly chronological. So Genesis starts with creation and Second Kings ends with Judah being taken off into exile. So Genesis through Second Kings, those books are mostly a straight line chronologically. They mostly, start at one point and end at another point. But when we come to Second Chronicles, the book that's right after Second Kings, it starts back over again with creation, if that makes sense, and it cruises back up in time, okay? So I just want to be clear about that, as I've talked about how the Bible is made up of 66 different books. There are 39 books in the Old Testament, 27 books in the New Testament, and out of those 39 books in the Old Testament, there are 5 books of Moses we call the Pentateuch. I have a link up there about the Pentateuch, or the historical books, and I have a link there, introduction to the historical books. And so there's the 5 books of Moses, and then there are 12 historical books, and First Chronicles is part of those 12 historical books. And the one-word description I've given to First Chronicles is rising. There's this rising of the point of Israel and the height of Israel and the strength and pinnacle, really, of their fame and their obedience to God. And First Chronicles talks about that kind of direction and point and pinnacle of them to being a righteous and strong nation in the land. So First Chronicles covers the same period of time as First and Second Samuel, pretty much. It starts with creation, but it goes real quick right up to King David. And so First Chronicles covers the same period of time as the books of First and Second Samuel, but the focus of First Chronicles is different. It is very optimistic. It does not mention some of the sins of the nation of Israel or its leaders. And it's peppered with different genealogies throughout that trace the descendants of Adam and Eve. One author that I read this week, he wrote, as I was studying this, he says, Chronicles provides the most extensive and complex genealogies found anywhere in Scripture. It traces the history of Israel from Adam to the remnant that returned from exile in Babylon. That's from Kenneth Hanna's book, From Moses to Malachi, that quote. It is a great book. I have a link down there in the description of this video so that you could purchase it on Amazon if you want. It is an affiliate link, so I get a small commission if you purchase it. I want to let you know about that and be honest. But it is a tremendous resource that provides good introductions to Old Testament books. I was given a free digital copy when I was in seminary, and I found it so helpful I spent $45 purchasing the hardback of it a couple years ago as well. So it's a great resource that you would find helpful as well if you wanted to put it in your library and add it. So First Chronicles, that one-word description is rising. We don't know who the author is, but some people say Ezra. It never specifically says, but some people say it might have been Ezra. The audience is the nation of Jerusalem, or not the nation of Jerusalem, I'm sorry, the nation of Judah that has returned from exile back into Jerusalem. So in the description down there, I have some Old Testament events and the dates there. And so what happens is Judah is taken into exile in Babylon in 586 BC, but in 538 BC, 539 BC, King Cyrus of Persia conquers Babylon, and then in 538 BC, he gives a decree to the Jews living in Persia saying, you all can go back to your land and rebuild the temple there in Jerusalem. So in 538 BC, he gives that decree. 536 BC is when they're finally back in the land and they rebuild parts of the temple. And it likely is around that time, maybe a little bit later, between 450 BC and 425 BC, when Ezra writes these books, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, as well as Ezra and Nehemiah, to tell the people back in Judah about their history, to remind them of what had been going on. So the book of 1st Chronicles covers pretty much creation all the way up until 970 BC. King David ruled from 1010 BC to 970 BC, and the book ends with the end of David's rule. So that's why we say 970 BC. A key verse of the book is a similar key verse that I read for 2 Samuel. It's in 1 Chronicles chapter 17, verses 11 through 14, is a key verse in my opinion. The prophet Nathan says this to David. Nathan says, "When your days are fulfilled, that you must go to be with your fathers, that I will set up for you one of your descendants." So this is God talking through Nathan. So the I there is God. "I will set up one of your descendants after you, who will be of your sons, and I will establish his kingdom. He shall build for me a house, and I will establish his throne forever. I will be his father, and he shall be my son, and I will not take my loving kindness away from him, as I took it from him who was before you. But I will settle him in my house and in my kingdom forever, and his throne shall be established forever." His throne shall be established forever. So God is telling King David here that while there's going to be might be some tough times in the future, there will always be a descendant of David on the throne of Judah forever. And that descendant, we know, eventually is Jesus, that rules on the throne spiritually and will rule on the throne physically in Jerusalem in the future. Okay? So an outline that I like to give for this book, for 1 Chronicles, the first 9 chapters are about David's ancestors. It's genealogies mostly. Okay, so the first 9 chapters are about David's ancestors. Chapters 10, 11, and 12 are about David's ascension to the throne, how he became king. And then chapters 13 through 29 are about David's, reign on the throne. So David's ascension, David's ancestors, ascension, and David's reign. I also like Warren Wiersbe's outline from his book Be Restored. Those are great commentaries if you can find those. On page 16, he gives a good outline. It's a little more descriptive than mine. He talks about the first 9 chapters are ancestry. That's the genealogy of the 12 tribes of Israel. Then chapters 10 through 16 are unity. The nation of Israel is brought together. Chapter 17 is about dynasty, God's covenant with David that I just read to you there. Chapters 18 through 21, victory. The borders are expanded. And then chapters 22 through 29, efficiency. The nation is organized. David organizes the nation there. So that's a little bit about 2 Chronicles. First Chronicles. It's an interesting book. There's a lot of good information in it. It moves pretty fast. A lot of genealogies. It's an amazing book that I think is worth reading if you understand it's trying to tell a specific point, and it's giving that optimistic look. In Charles Ryrie's Study Bible, he provides a purpose for 1 Chronicles I really like that he says. He says, "We know that Ezra led a group of exiles back to Palestine in 458 BC and was concerned about building a true spiritual foundation for the people. To further that purpose, the author evidently compiled the Chronicles in order to emphasize the importance of racial and religious purity, the proper place of the law, the temple, and the priesthood. Thus, he omits detailed activities of the kings and prophets, stressing instead the rich heritage of the people and the blessing of their covenant relationship with God." So like I'd shared earlier, 1 Chronicles skips a lot of information. It's trying to focus on the rich heritage of the people, not really getting mixed in with the details of who did what and who messed up what, but it's just trying to tell from Ezra's point of view, if Ezra was the author, how the nation of Israel came to be there and trying to point them to their religious heritage. So thanks for watching this video. I hope it's helpful for you. about the book of First Chronicles, which can be a confusing book at times if you don't have a good historical background. So I hope this book provides that historical background for you. If you found this video helpful, I'd love to have you subscribe to my monthly email newsletter down there in the comments, the first comment. There's a link there. If you subscribe, I'll give you a free Bible study guide that will teach you how to study the Bible on your own, just with a Bible and a pad of paper and a pen. And also I provide you a monthly email newsletter where I give you links to my articles I published the previous month, and then also links to my newest YouTube videos. And I promise I only email you one time a month, so you can subscribe to that down there. My name's Christopher Scott. Thanks for watching. Hope to catch you again soon in another video.